there's a lot of things when you say clinical neuropsychology. You have clinical and neuro in front of psychology. What is, how would you define the discipline?
Sure. So let's do neuropsychology first. The mind is the thing that people think that psychologists study, but plainly it has a physical instantiation in the brain. We like to view it, maybe now's not the time for a philosophical discussion, but Spinoza is our lighthouse on this one. We believe that you can see the mental apparatus, if you want to call it that, from two different perspectives, either sort of internally experiencing it as a mind or externally viewing it as a brain. So if you liked the hardware-software analogy, then neuropsychology is the hardware stuff. We're interested in knowing how the mind really works. The other little analogy I like to use, because it's just to try to get people's heads around the concept, would be about motor cars. Everyone is like a car driver in that you own a mind and you learn gradually how to drive it. And if you turn the steering wheel and put the brakes on, things happen. That's what being a mind is like. But almost nobody knows how they work. And how they work is lifting up the bonnet. You've frozen a bit there. Lifting up the bonnet, and there's a whole ton of machinery that turns your steering wheel or your gear thing into an action. So we're the under the bonnet people. The difference, of course, well, there are many differences, but is that we didn't design the thing. So we're trying to work out after the fact how on earth this extraordinarily complicated machine actually works. So that's starting with psychology, the mind. Then we're interested in the brain stuff, and then clinical is the thing that turns it into a field that belongs in the sort of broader family of medical sciences. So your brain gets injured in all sorts of ways, probably most commonly through head injury, and motor car accidents, for example, falls, or indeed through stroke. Any sort of blood supply problem to the brain. And in later life, of course, dementia is the other big category. So in that sense, it has all these related fields around neuropsychology, which, as I point out in the last chapter of the book, you've kind of got to know. You've got to know neuroanatomy, you've got to know clinical neurology, you've got to know something about neuroradiography and statistics and psychometric assessment. So it's a field that touches on a lot of other disciplines, but that also makes it really fascinating. So it appeals to our students, often of psychology, who don't like the fuzzier aspect of the discipline, but who are more interested in the kind of hard science stuff. So, and just if I can finish this on a personal note, we get to study stuff that's really at the cutting edge of science. We think we own the biggest problem in all of science. The problem of consciousness. Your kidney and livers are run using the same kinds of cells that are in your brain, but somehow, at least some parts of your brain create this amazing subjective feeling. And we sort of know where that happens, which we call the easy problem of consciousness. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the philosophy behind it, but the easy part was working out where it happens, more or less. The hard problem of consciousness, which we just don't know anything about, is why it produces this amazing subjective state. So I just consider myself really to be very lucky to be working in a field that's about such amazing stuff.